Hello, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello. We just wrapped up a manager huddle. Thanks for being on, ready to rock and roll. Our focus this morning is a couple of things. I want to share that focus with you, and then I'm going to share a couple thoughts and hand things over to Lindsay. We had first day of school for Jonah today, which was exciting. So I'm outside the school sitting in my truck. We also had his first trip to urgent care last night. That was exciting. During our they like to mess around with each other before they go to bed, and Jonah's arm got popped out of its socket, so his elbow had to be reset last night. No big deal. About a hour-long trip to urgent care at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. He was good to go. He was laying in his bed screaming for about an hour and a half last night. So welcome to parenthood. I got three kids, for those of you who don't know, a 5, a 2.5, and an 8-month-old. So just hold off on that one. Hold off on that one. Be smart. Be smart. It's a great thing, but it's a lot better when you got a lot of money and you're not worried about how much it all costs. So hold off on that one. Make a lot of money first. Okay. They're amazing. Here's our three focuses this morning. Number one, we are going to get focused around how to prepare for a session with me, for those of you that are getting to meet with me, or two, how to package your vector experience to other future people, whether that's 2, 3 months down the road, 2, 3 years down the road, 4 or 5 years down the road. We hope that every single one of you chooses to pursue vector in our Cutco Through College program. Okay. Now, some of you are like, what? I've only sold 2 grand in sales. You want me to be here through Cutco Through College? Yeah. We had guys that sold 50, 60 grand for the push. Carter Jackson, I was just sharing with our management team. He sold 54, 56,000 hours, 54 grand for SC2. He sold 2 grand last year for SC2. Okay. Cutco Through College for him and getting around the right people has massively changed his possibility and potential and opportunity with our company. You haven't touched what you're capable of here yet. And you haven't touched it. So we want to help you get prepared for the future opportunity meeting that I'm going to have I have 75 people identified. I will probably have around 50 to 55 meetings over the next, 2 weeks or so, 2.5 weeks, as I'm meeting with some of our DMs afterwards. Not every single person on our team will have one of those meetings. That doesn't mean that you can't in the future. It just means that you won't yet. So getting prepared to do that. How do you package your experience together? How do you share that with me? We're going to talk about. Lindsay will go over how to get your resume ready. Additionally, some keys. She'll share a video with you that I have recorded to go over some things to expect in that conversation. And then our third objective this morning is to phone jam. Coming back after SC2, think about what we were doing phoning wise in a normal weekend. Let's call it normal. It was really our SC2 schedule. We were making 200 calls between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to go into the 2 weeks of SC2 with 20 plus demos lined up. Most of you did not make 200 calls between Thursday and Sunday due to a conference, VIP night, all of the things that came with SC2. So now we get to reset. I know a lot of you have 3, 5, 7, 9. Some of you even have 10, 11 demos already lined up. But we got to reset a little bit this morning and phone jam to make sure our schedule for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is ready to rock and roll. So we'll have some time this morning to phone jam as well. Lindsay, I want to thank you for your preparation. I'm going to hand things over to you and get ready to rock and roll. I'll be in Greenville tomorrow. I'll be in Columbia on Wednesday. I'll be back in Atlanta on Thursday and meeting with people throughout. So looking forward to those conversations and talking a little bit about each of your opportunities within our division. So great job for SC2. I was really proud of the work that we did as a team. It was awesome to have our 31 winners at VIP night. And we just had an awesome event. For those of you that got a chance to go, we were at Hotel Cali rooftop pool, Valenza for dinner. It was an awesome time. A lot of people got back yesterday. So cheers. Thanks for being here this morning and excited to kick off our CFC competition. We'll get out some promo on that throughout the day. CFC goes from today until August 12th, kind of as a post-conference cash out start to our cash out in August. And we've got some cool prizes running with that. So Lindsay, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben, as well. I appreciate it. All right, can everyone hear me okay? All right, real quick in the chat box, just to make sure we're all ready to go. For those that were at SC2, I'll come back to VIP night in a second, but those that were at SC2, one word in the chat box. Coming out of SC2, how are you feeling? Okay, see, impactful, inspirational, Costin's feeling great, confident. I like that. On fire. Me too, Ben Jackson. Me too. Ooh, clarity. I like it. Prepared. And then for those that were at VIP night, one word to describe the dinner. Just good, Aiden. Oh, 10 out of 10. Ooh, camaraderie. Can't eat anymore. Same, Christian. Honestly, all of yesterday, I was like, I'm still full. Delicious. Ron, I'm not even going to read that. Okay, so I'm going to kick things off here. For those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet, my name is Lindsay Lenhurst. I'm the district manager down here in Charleston, South Carolina. And for our time today for resume workshop, I'm going to cover a few things. So I'm going to go one-on-one or one overview 101 of interview preparation for TLA. I'll also talk about just your resume as a whole. How do you package your vector opportunity as a sales representative and assistant manager? I'll also talk about for those of you interested in thinking about next summer for branching, some of the things that you can add on to your resume and what that does. And then I will end it with some keys to just interviewing as a whole. How do you want to prepare? How do you want to show up for an interview with Ben, with future opportunities that you have? And then, like Mr. Jackson mentioned, we are going to lead our phone jams. That way, we're impacting our week as we come out of our SC2 conference. So, first thing before I dive into some basics on a resume, and then I'll share a few examples here. Show of hands, who's already created a resume? And it's okay if you haven't, but okay, I think I have about half the Zoom here as well. All right, so for those of you that have not created a resume, and by the way, if you have, some of you might feel like, well, I have one, but it might be better to just be like, all right, I'm going to start fresh because maybe you made one in high school, maybe you started freshman year and you just put something together real quick. So I want to go over a few keys. Here's what you're going to need as I'm talking. I want this to be a little bit interactive as well. You're going to want to have your Google Drive open. So if you already have your resume, you can pull it up, you can make some tweaks. I would also have something for notes because I will talk a little bit quick through this. So you might not have the opportunity to create your entire resume during the section, but have a resume ready to go. I'm going to show how to make a template. If you've never created a resume before, Google is great for that. They actually have a template that you can just pick from and then go over a few things here. And then I'll talk about from years and years of experience what makes a good resume, some things that you want to make sure you have on it, and some things that you want to avoid. So, first thing is if you do not have a resume, you're going to go ahead and go to Google. You're going to go to Google Drive. If you don't have a Gmail, that should be first thing that you make in your notes is to get a Gmail. Most important email to ever have is get a Gmail. And then you're going to go to Google Drive and you're going to click where it says new. And then you're going to click on Google Docs. And I'll share my screen as I'm walking through this as well. So in your Google Drive, you can click on where it says Google Docs, and then there's going to be a blank document option. But if you click on where it says from a template, there is going to be different resumes here. These are going to be basic ones. So there's going to be premium ones if you want to pay or you want to upgrade it. You can also go to different sites. I've just found Google is kind of the most universal. It saves it in your drive. You can pull it up at any point. And then I would just pick your favorite style. There's a few different ones that they have here. There's not one that's a good style or a bad style, but pick one that you like. There's a few different options. I'll go with this one here, and then I open it up and I'm able to simply just edit a few things. Now, if you already have a resume, all I would do is I would go ahead and open up your resume. And as I'm going through some of the different ways to kind of highlight your resume and talk about your vector opportunity, just make a note of, do I need to add this in? Is this an award that I've achieved? Where would I put this? Maybe you have a long resume right now. I'm going to recommend trimming that down. So in your notes, first thing when it comes to your resume is I would write down, unless you've already graduated college, your resume should be one page. Some of you, that might be a light bulb already. Your resume should not be 2, 3, 4 pages long. Most employers, it is like a 6-second overview, is what they do. They look at your resume, and I'll come back to that in a second here. They highlight a couple of the things that you've done, but this is not a novel of every single responsibility that you've had in your entire life. So first thing is make sure that it's just one page. Everything that you've done should be on one page. Now, if you've graduated college, you've had more of the internships, maybe you've had some career roles as well, you might have a 2-page resume because you've had more experiences, and that's fine. But for those of you that are students, it should be one page. Second tip that I would write down is there should be no more than your last 3 jobs/experiences. Now, that might include a job that you've done. It also might be volunteer experience. So, for anyone here, was Cutco your first job? Show of hands. Is there anyone on here that had like, okay, so there's a couple of you. So, Costin, for example, if Cutco's your first job, you might want to add on a volunteer experience that you've had. I know a couple of our representatives in South Carolina have done Boys State, which is a leadership conference. They might put that down, but you don't need to put down every single volunteer opportunity that you've ever done. If this is your first job, I would have a few bullet points with Cutco, and I'll talk about how to package that in a minute. And then I would talk about 1 or 2 volunteer opportunities or experiences that you've done, or maybe a leadership conference you've attended. But it doesn't need to be every single thing that you've ever done. We want the most recent 2 to 3 things. And then third key, and then I'll show some examples of this as well, is underneath each experience previously, so not Cutco, but previously, you want to have about 2 bullet points or 2 responsibilities. Now, if anyone takes this personally, do not worry, I've seen thousands of resumes. It's not a personal attack, but let's say, for example, that you were previously a cashier. My first job ever, I was a bagger at Kroger. Please do not put 10 different things that you've done, like I bagged groceries, I checked customers out, I talked to customers, I mopped the floor. These are kind of self-explanatory. So if anyone here has ever worked at a fast food place or a grocery store or a retail store, you don't need 10 bullet points explaining every single responsibility that you've had. Employers know. I assume anybody that I interview that's worked at a retail store has probably, if it's a clothing store, folded clothes and manage inventory. But what you do want to talk about, and this is the next thing, is any skill sets you've developed from that job. So, for example, Mallory, I'm going to ask you real quick here as well. What's a job that you had previous to Cutco?
Working at a swim school.
At what was it?
Swim school?
A swim school. Okay. So for you, I wouldn't put down taught kids how to swim. Because for me as an employer, I'm like, obviously, but maybe a skill set you've developed from that was interacting with parents and kids and learning how to effectively teach and relate to people of all ages. That's something you do want to put down because then when employers ask, so what's a skill set that you've developed, or what would you say is a strong character trait of yours, you can talk about effective communication. So that's one of the things that a lot of people miss in their resumes is that when you're listing your skills and you're listing your experiences, you want them to match up. You don't want to list skills down of like knowing how to use Zoom. In 2026, we all know how to use Zoom. We all know how to communicate. We all know how to manage our time. But if you can share that in a previous job, I know a lot of people love to work at Chick-fil-A, that you know how to interact with thousands of customers and manage conversations because of the time you've spent at a job, that then transpires into a skill. So that's what you want to make sure matches up on your resume. Okay, the other thing you'll see, and then I'll go back to the template here as well, is just making sure that you have the basics with education. Now, for those of you that are in college, it's going to be where you're going to college at, your expected graduation date, and then your major. You are also welcome to put when you graduated high school as well, but as soon as you graduate college, that's going to dip off. So for me right now, I graduated college, I got my bachelor's in psychology. I don't put where I went to high school down because that's irrelevant because I just have my last previous education. So for those of you in college, you're going to put where you're going to college. You can also add in where you went to high school. For those of you not attending college, you would just put where you graduated high school from. And then the last thing is any awards that you've had. So we talked a little bit about skill sets, but with the awards here, and I will drop some of these examples I'll share as well of Cutco experiences in our chat. So that way you can reference some of these in a little bit. But when you're talking about some of the awards, same philosophy as your previous jobs. You want to put 2, maybe 3 awards that you've received that you feel like have the greatest impact on your skill set, your development. So it is not a list of 10 different awards that you've won. Not that they're not important, but you want to talk about the ones that matter the most because they tie back into your work ethic or your leadership skills or your communication skills as well. So that's just the basics when it comes to a resume. Now, when it comes to packaging Cutco here, I'll highlight a couple of things. So I will drop this one in the chat as some examples. I listed a lot of bullet points on this because I want you all to have a few things that you can pick from because everybody is in a different situation. Some of you just started last weekend, a couple weeks ago. Some of you it was a month ago. Some of you a couple of months. Some of you have been here all year, a couple of years. So everybody's in a different position. But for this document, and then if you need access, I think everybody should have it, but if you need access, I can drop it as well. This is going to give you a few different things of how you package the job. So when you're working with Vector and Cutco, you don't just want to say, I sold knives, which is yes, what you do. But again, you want to kind of beef up your resume. You want to talk a little bit about the skill sets you've developed and how it's impacted you because that's what employers are looking for. So as a sales representative, some of the different bullet points that you can write down include talking with customers both in person and virtually over Zoom. So you can talk about your effective communication skills. You can talk about developing sales skills and how much you've sold. So I'll highlight some of the numbers as well that you can add. So you can talk about the sales. You can talk about how many promotions that you've achieved. You also want to add in, no matter where you're at in the business, of talking about networking and referrals. So you can say this a few different ways. You can say effectively generated over 500, 1,000, 1,500, 5,000 referrals through a lead generation process. You can talk about developed networking skills to get professionally introduced to over 200 people, which is still referrals. But talking about that, no matter what industry, what job, what major you have, networking is an important skill set to develop. You can also talk about your fast start. If you hit 1, 2, 3 sales levels, you can talk about your summer as a whole. But the key is you want to make sure that you're adding in, again, 2 or 3 bullet points. One of them at least should have a number that an employer can reference. So it's your sales, maybe it's an average order, maybe it's a closing percentage, maybe it's how many referrals that you've generated. And then many of you are going to be interviewing with Mr. Jackson for the Leadership Academy. If and when you are accepted into our Leadership Academy program, you can also add that in as a professional leadership academy and management training program. But the key with the sales rep is, again, what some of the responsibilities that you've had and some of the awards that you've received are going to tie back into a skill set you feel like is one of your strongest ones. So then when I add skills down here, and it's things like time management, networking, effective communication with customers, relationship building, and an employer asks me, hey, Lindsay, why did you put down relationship building as one of your strongest skills? I can talk about how I have over 650 customers. I've generated over 2,000 plus referrals. I've had many customers I'd have to go back and calculate, but probably at least, I would say 300 of my customers, so 50% have bought multiple times from me. I can tie that in because I have the numbers to back it up. So it's not just putting a random skill that looks good, but it's actually saying this is a skill I've developed because of the experiences that I've had. Those of you that have had the opportunity to become an assistant manager are going to then be able to add that in as well on your resume. So same thing, if you become an assistant manager and a sales representative here, you could just keep that as your job. You could add in if you have a secondary job here as well or had a previous position. But as a whole, when you're an assistant manager intern or an assistant manager period, then you get to talk about how you manage a group of representatives. You learned interviewing skills. You had the opportunity to build the team and lead them to the number 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is. You can ask your managers individually in the nation. You've helped impact and recruited 5, 10, 15 personal recruits that have generated over 30,000, 50,000. And you can reference the team building scholarships that we have. As a whole, though, when it comes to your resume, again, the most important things are going to be making sure it's one page, making sure it's concise. So talking about the experiences you've had, but in a way that ties back to your skill set. And then also referencing when it comes to awards, school, keep it basic. Keep the things that are most important to you that have impacted you the most. Right, so I dropped that in the chat. I'm also going to go to mine real quick here. I think I created this last year. Again, I just added a lot of bullet points here as well. So some of these are up to date. Some of them I need to tweak a little bit here as well. But I have a couple things that you can put down. So for those of you that are at 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 sales, directly sold kitchen cutlery, generating over this much in sales. You can talk about referrals. You can talk about sales promotions, President's Club letter, directly scheduling 100 appointments. So if you've done 50 demos, 100 demos, the sales pitches, and then also mapping out your schedule as well if you want to talk about effective time management. I also added in the assistant manager, and then for my branches on the call here, I added over a couple things that you can tie in as well of how to talk about the branch opportunity. So I'll drop mine in the chat as well. Before I go to our video on TLA and just interviewing tips as a whole, does anyone have any quick questions on your resume? Just in general. Okay, I saw some shakes of the head, and then I saw some of you that are just like, so if I get a verbal, like, we're good, and unmute. Nice. This, I think some of you do. Some of you might laugh at me. I don't know if you do the same more. We're like, we're good. Good. Any questions? Solid. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So thank you, Harris. There we go. By the way, I love that your sister's on. She's getting her resume prepped, ready to go. At the age of what? 8?
Yes, of course.
Love that. Love that. Okay. So next thing is I'm going to go to the TLA video here. So those of you that have been selected to interview with Mr. Jackson for the TLA program, which if you are not yet, by the way, I know some of you, maybe you just started, maybe you're a couple weeks on the job, maybe you haven't hit the sales level yet. It is not too late to get there. So Ben is starting tour this week, but you can make a massive move this week, end of the week, by selling another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grand plus and get an interview with Mr. Jackson. So we're going to watch a video here that's been pre-recorded. Ben's going to talk about a few different keys when it comes to prepping for your TLA interview. The only thing I want you all to make a note of is everything in here is accurate except for the dates. So this was pre-recorded from last year here as well, I believe. So the dates are not going to be accurate. Everything's going to be moved back. So don't take notes on those, but he will talk about a few things as far as prepping for the TLA interview. And then I'll debrief after this as well. And then we'll go to phone jam. Cool.
Hello, coming to you
How's
from
volume?
Hotel
Everyone can hear.
Kali. We are about to start our VIP night experience with some of
Volume.
our top performers for the summer.
good.
We have 23 people
Thank you,
that
Bella.
have won
I
this
see you.
event. It's going to be an awesome event. SC2 was phenomenal. I know a lot of you will be watching this right after the SC2 event. I wanted to record a brief video prior to meeting with each of you. I'll be meeting with 40 of our top people across the division while I'm on tour from August 5th until August 14th. I've carved out some time to meet with 40 people across the division that I know will be major players on our team for the future. So I wanted to make sure we get the most of our time together. By this point, you should have watched the Cutco Through College video from Jeff Gamboa. In that video, you heard about how Cutco helps people to become 5-star graduates. You heard what Cutco Through College program really is all about. You heard about the skill set that can be created through our Leadership Academy and our management training program. You heard about the importance of developing the right skills early on, and how a lot of people in today's day and age view the skills as even more important than the degree in future interviews and those types of things. You also heard about how the management training program sets people up to be a part of the events training program and getting exposure to our CSPs and our top reps in our division, like the Justin Fords, the Matt Tushin, event coordinator, Matt Tushin, just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. A lot of you guys got to see that at SC2. These things that we're discussing that you got a chance to see in your exposure, I know there's a lot of excitement, potentially becoming a branch manager, an assistant manager, how to make a name for yourself right now in the month of August to really get make a move and get accepted potentially into our Leadership Academy program. I want to let you know we're going to be making inductions, our first round of inductions for our Leadership Academy program for the fall campaign on August 14th at the team meeting on August 14th. It's going to be a divisional team meeting. We'll have our entire division joining in together. We will do a conference of champions type of feel for this divisional team meeting. You'll join in from your hubs at your local offices, or the hub with a few offices joining in together. And we will be actually recognizing the people that get inducted for the first round of TLA inductions on August 14th. So what to expect from our time together. I'm going to ask you a few things, and I want to give you some time to prepare and make sure you come up with your best responses and you have a prepared response for these topics that we'll be discussing in different ways, shape, and form. One, I'm going to talk to you about, and I'm going to ask you about your summer sales performance. I'm going to ask you about your SC2 push. I'm going to ask you to debrief that with me a little bit. Second, I'm going to ask you about your goals for the month of August and finishing the push strong. And I'm going to ask you to tell me a little bit about your plans for the fall campaign as well. How are you going to use the skill sets that you developed and built this summer to work efficiently throughout the fall campaign? A lot of you are about to transition back into school mode. The importance of navigating that transition is really, really important. As you add something additional to your plate, your skill sets have been increased. You're probably going to be in a position where you're going to work a little bit less demo-wise, but obviously your skills are better, and performance is going to be awesome because your skills are better. So you might work less. Maybe in the summer, if you did 10 or 12 or 15 demos a week, you might be doing 5, 6, 7, 8 demos a week type deal, but you're going to maximize and make sure you're meeting with better people and maximizing your recommendations and your closing, all those things, right? So I'm going to want to hear about your fall plans and your transition into the fall through the month of August and finishing the push strong. Have a well thought out response and answer for that. Top takeaways. What were your biggest takeaways from SC2? I want to hear about that. I want to know what struck home with you. What were light bulbs for you at the SC2 event? I want to know where you see yourself a year from now in our business. Where do you see yourself next summer? What role are you excited to work towards? Remember, a lot can happen in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Think how much has happened since you started with Cutco. Think about where you could be by the end of this year, in December and January. Think about where you could be 8 months from now when we're going into next summer, right? So much development is going to happen over the course of the fall and spring as we prepare and start to think about and work towards the summer of 2025. And then I'm also going to ask you if you have any questions about any of the opportunities in our business, or if you have any questions about what I need to see from you to make yourself a really strong candidate for a particular role that you're excited to work towards. So if you have any questions and you want to discuss those, we'll take some time to do that during our meeting as well. I want to recommend that you use our time together as an opportunity to continue to make a statement with how you continue to save money, okay? And develop really strong habits for saving money. And a great program to do that is our withholdings program. I know a lot of you have a withholdings account already. If you don't yet have a withholdings account, I'd strongly recommend setting one up before we even meet so you can share that with me that you've already done that. You can withhold 10 to 50% of your weekly paycheck. And I know a lot of you have also been adding money to that account. You can Venmo me at any time at Ben Jackson 22, at Ben Jackson, the number 22. Your manager can give you the details on that. Put your rep number in it and say add to withholdings account, and I can add that to your manager withholding account at any point in time. We work towards the people who are serious about being branch candidates for the summer of 2025. We're looking for between $3,000 and $5,000 on the low end, saved and ready to invest in their business for next summer, because we invest between $6,000 and $8,000 in new managers going into their first summer. So obviously it's a business. We want to make sure that they've got money set aside ready to invest in their business too. So make sure you have August 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. blocked off in your calendar. We will be doing our TLA inductions at that division meeting, Conference of Champions meeting, 5 to 7 p.m. on August 14th, joining with your local organizations. A lot of you I know will be joining from hubs. Make sure that's in your calendar. We'll be doing our TLA inductions at that. And then for those of you that get into our TLA program, we'll have our first TLA meeting to kick off our program on August 24th at 9 a.m. Be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. most likely. August 24th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. For those of you that get into our TLA program, that'll be the first event. We'll have one event monthly divisionally. Obviously, we'll have some assignments and things that we'll be working on outside of those divisional events. So looking forward to meeting with each of you. Awesome job so far for the summer. We had a great showing at the SC2 push, and excited to dig in and have some conversations about your futures when we meet one-on-one. Talk soon.
Okay. So a couple things I want to make a note of here as well. I'll share some of the things to note from the video, and then we'll go into interviewing as a whole and a few keys for how to show up properly. So a couple dates. I would pull out your calendars for those of you that have a Google Cal or paper planner or paper calendar that you use. First event, all of you should be aware of this coming up, not this week, but next week, is going to be our Conference for Champions. So CFC event. It is August 12th. So it is not the 14th, it is August 12th. And that is going to be 5:30 to 7 p.m. So in most cases, that is probably going to replace the content of team meeting and then phone jam afterwards. So we are Conference for Champions, August 12th, 5:30 to 7. That is where we'll do TLA inductions as well. Okay, now for those that are over 15K, so some of you will get accepted into our TLA program, but you will not quite be at 15K yet. That's okay. You can fight to get there as well. But we will have events training for everybody that is over 15K in sales and inducted into TLA. And that is going to be on August 29th. It is a Saturday for those of you. I know many of you will start school back up, and that is going to be 12 to 5. It is me in person as well. So we'll get dates and details on that for the date to come for those of you that are over 15K in sales. And then for those that are accepted into our TLA program, our first official TLA meeting is going to be September 12th. So September 12th, it is going to be virtual in hub. So you go to your local office, or maybe if you're in school, it might be the local office where you're at in school, depending on the situation. And that is going to be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay. And then as a whole, I want to start to wrap before we go to phone jam here with just some keys as interviewing tips when you're meeting with Ben Jackson, but also preparing all of you for the future of how do you show up to an interview the right way? How do you stand out? How do you make sure that you're the one accepted for the position, the internship here? A lot of you have probably heard this before, but if you have, I want to check all of you here. Are you doing this every single time? The first key I'd like you all to write down in your notes is to make sure you show up early. Now, showing up early is not showing up 1 or 2 minutes before. If you are meeting in person for the interview with Mr. Jackson, or in the future, if you're doing an in-person interview, I plan to arrive 15 minutes early. Why? Because there's this thing called traffic that typically will put you at 10 minutes early, but it shows the right intentions. Now, if it's a Zoom call, it is a little bit easier. I still plan to be in the Zoom waiting room though 10 minutes prior at a minimum. So I'm there, I'm early, I have something ready to go to take notes if I have questions. You just want to make sure that you are showing up early and you are showing the right habits. So set the intentionality of showing up early. Okay, second thing is to dress for success. I'm going to challenge all of you on this. I'm going to go outside of TLA for a second. You could be interviewing for McDonald's. You could be which you should not, but you could be interviewing for McDonald's. You could be interviewing for an internship. You could be interviewing for Google. Show up dressed to the nines. Full suit and tie, jumpsuit, a blazer. Show up looking nice, no matter what the job is. Because you want to dress for the job that you want, not the job that you're directly interviewing for. So show up professionally. Even our top representatives. Christian Hogue, he will show up in a suit and tie when he interviews with Ben for TLA. Over $1.5 million in sales. So show up the right way. Third key is make sure that you're prepared. So following this, all of your managers will send out the future opportunities talk that Ben mentioned in the video here, just talking about the assistant manager position, the branch manager, the Cutco through college program that we have. Take notes on that about things you're interested in, but also things you might have questions on. When you're interviewing outside of Cutco, you want to make sure you show up to the interview prepared, knowing the company's mission statement. What are they looking for in an applicant? Why are they filling this role? Because if you don't know the answers to those questions, the interviewer is going to think, well, why are you interviewing here? Do you care about the company, or are you just interviewing around? So make sure that you're prepared. Do your research. And then my final key with this, and I'll talk TLA specific, is I would recommend anytime you go into an interview, have 2 questions prepared for the interviewer. One is going to be job specific. So for TLA interview, I would recommend coming to Ben with one Cutco specific question. I'll give some examples of this in a second. And then one is going to be non-job specific. So when I have the opportunity to meet one-on-one with Ben, and I'm talking in the job specifically, I might ask a question like, hey, Ben, and you'll notice how I'll phrase this. I know from your talks that you have a above 95% closing percentage. Currently, mine is at 70%, for example. What are some of the keys that you feel like mindset-wise, skill set-wise, objection handling that you can give me to help me increase my closing percentage to get to 95%? You want to make sure it's a specific question. Please do not ask Ben the question of, hey, Ben, how do I get better at Rex? How do I get better at sales? That's a very broad question. Ask him a specific question in the business. And then the second one is ask a non-business question. I love to pick Ben's brain about finances and money. So anytime I get the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with him, I always like to ask him a question about that. So make sure you come with a job specific and then non-job specific question. As you're prepping for TLA interviews, Ben is going to have a few questions for all of you. So some things you want to make a quick note on, especially for those of you that have an interview scheduled or you get the chance to interview with Ben for TLA. He's going to ask about your summer sales and summer experience as a whole. You're going to want to make sure that you debrief the SC2 push. So how did you do? What was your original goal? What did you end up doing sales-wise, but also how many demos did you complete? And then you want to make sure for everybody that you have an August plan. Following this, every single one of you is going to get the chance to meet with your manager to make a plan for the cash out in August. If you haven't seen the contest yet, it's pretty sick. You're going to like it. But you're going to make a plan for August as a whole. And then also now until next week, CFC, how are you going to show up? What are you going to do? What are you going to sell? And for many of you following CFC, you're going to get the chance to go to college. You're going to go into syllabus week. Those first 2 weeks of school, what do you want to do? What are you going after? What do you want to sell? So August as a whole, but broken down into these next 2 weeks and the following 2 weeks. Ben's also going to want to know for all of you, what is your overall goal for the fall? And right now, some of you, especially my freshmen in college, you might be thinking, well, hey, I don't know 100% what I want to go after. And it's okay to not know the week by week breakdown. But I'll use an example here. Let's say, Bella, for you, are you going to be attending college in the fall?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, awesome. Where are you going to school at?
Georgia Southern.
Okay, perfect. So let's say for Bella, she might not know exactly what week is midterms, what's finals, how many demos that she wants to do. But here's how you make a general game plan. Let's say there's about 15 weeks in the fall when we take out our moving in week, Christmas, maybe it's midterms, maybe it's finals. Let's say Bella on average just wants to do 5 demos in a week because it's not the summertime. She's going to have school. Maybe she's involved in sports clubs, a sorority. So she might be involved on campus. Well, she's going to take 5, multiply it by 15, 75 demos that she's going to schedule. Let's say she has about an 80% closing or an 80% completion percentage. So when you include reschedules, about 65 demos she'll complete. Let's say you have a 60% closing percentage, Bella, just it might be better than that as well, especially coming off of SE2, but we'll just use basic numbers, which means you're going to make about 40 sales. And then if your average order size here is about $400, let's say, you multiply that, you're going to sell about $15,000 to $16,000 for the fall. Now, you might want to do more. You might want to increase that. You might have a couple weeks you go really big. You also might have a couple weeks where you're traveling and it's hectic, but you're going to want to share that with Ben of, hey, this is what I'm thinking for the fall as a whole and what I'm excited about going after. So that's what all of you want to do is just break down your numbers. Know your closing percentage, know your average order size here, and have an idea of what you want to go after for the fall. Thank you, by the way, Bella. I appreciate it. Ben's also going to want to know just some light bulbs from SE2. And then as you start thinking about for next summer, what role are you most excited for? So a lot of this is going to come to light as you're listening to Jeff's talk following this, but are you excited to branch? Are you excited to sell at a high level? For some of you, it might be an assistant manager or maybe a operations manager for your district or for the pilot office here and being a lead AM. And then I also challenge all of you to make a statement with money. So many of you are familiar with our withholdings program, which is an automated savings that we do, especially for those of you that are considering and excited about branching next summer. You want to come to the interview with a statement. Most of our top branch managers here that went out this past summer came to their TLA interviews with 500, 1,000, 2,000 bucks plus ready to put into their withholdings into their savings program to show Ben, hey, I'm committed and I'm excited about going after a branch next summer. Because as a company, if we're going to give you $6,000 to $10,000 to help you with startup, we also want to make sure that you know how to save money as well. So you can talk to your manager if you haven't already about an automated withholdings, but I will also challenge all of you to make sure you show up to your TLA interview with money. It could be $250, it could be $500, it could be $1,000 or $2,000 if you really want to increase it here and make a statement early on, but show up to TLA ready to go and ready to save. So as we jump into our phone jam here, I want to come off of Resume Workshop for a second. As a whole, whether it's Resume Workshop, interviewing, TLA, does anyone have any general questions as we prepare for a TLA tour and Ben's doing his interviews with many of you? Thank you, Catherine Walter, for the shake of the head. I appreciate it. It was great meeting you this weekend too as well. I've seen you so much on Zoom. No questions. I'm still just getting some just stares from all of you. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to jump into our phone jam here. Now, if you have not seen this yet, normally, many of you know this from SE2, when we're in SE2 push, leaving Sunday, you typically have to have 10 demos ahead to get into the entry. Right now, to get entered into a drawing for a flatware chest, it's 5 demos ahead. It's 5 demos ahead. Oh, the divisional chant.
You're
Oh,
kidding.
there
You're
we go.
kidding.
I know. I can't believe it. For a flatware chest, almost $2,000. When you look at retail value, it's like $2,500. It's crazy. Real quick in the chat box, please. Can you drop starting today, right now, through Monday night, how many demos do you have scheduled ahead currently? In the Zoom chat. por favor. Okay. Thank you, Costin. I appreciate it. I'm still waiting. Okay. Nice, John. Nice, Carmela. 3 ahead. Okay, Harris, already planning. Got it, Bella. Thank you. Oh, no, look at that. Already entered. Aiden already entered. Aiden's like, I'm a DM, but I'm taking that flower chest. I love it. Keep it coming. That's not all of you. I know. It's okay if it's one. If you haven't started yet, great. Opportunity right now to make some calls. Okay, okay. There we go. There we go. All right, so kindly, as I get our phone jam screen going here, I'd like you all to pull out your Vector Impact app. I'd like you to go to your phone now button, and you're going to line up your top 10 people to call. So top 10. So top 10 people to call. Our mission this morning, at a minimum, is everybody gets 2 demos lined up, ready to go. So 2 demos scheduled. I said that wrong. 2 demos scheduled. So 10 people lined up to call, 2 demos scheduled at a minimum. Now, if first 5 calls you book your 2 demos, great. Keep going. But I want to see everybody in this drawing for the flower chest. Every single one of you. There we go, Ayana. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right, I'm going to get some tunes going. If you have a strong preference for song choice of the day, please let me know. I'm going to find our divisional song. Many of you had the chance to hear it live this weekend, but I will find our divisional song. I'm not playing Pink Pony Club. No, thank you, Ron. But I thank you so much for your suggestion, but I'm not going to play that. That was one of the songs that came up this weekend, though. That was one of the songs, but it is unfortunately not the divisional chant. All right, and then once you have your top 10 ready to go, lined up to call, let's get to work. Let's get to work. Tiana, do we know, is the song just Free From Desire? Like, is that okay? I learned 2 things this weekend, the chant and a new song.
Here, I can sing it for you.
Oh, it's just okay. It's okay. Now some of you I know are gonna start singing this with the Coastal Jam in your head. Trent also had a very very nice remix for all of us as well, so you can ask about that later. Deanna's like, okay.
Want more and more people just want more and more freedom and love. What is looking for? Want more